Say that again.
There's information that Russia and Russian pipelines are helping bring in some of the resources that are going to support al-Qaeda's homeland attack. If we go to war with China, I do think China will likely wait and use the terrorists as a proxy against us. From what I know, so there's two pieces to this. Can we do China and Russia? Because Russia's a big problem. You know, they're trying to counter us as we're trying to counter them. So China's a little more of a longer game. Now, China is meeting with the terrorists. The place I have an issue with China is I do think China is going to find a way to use the terrorists as proxies. But the place I'm most concerned about is, you talked about the lithium, but there's uranium mines too. So at least the uranium mines in like two of the provinces in the south are essentially owned and run by China. So China's in them. Al-Qaeda is in them. And IRGC is there trying to help Al-Qaeda basically use uranium, not exactly like you would use it for nuclear power, maybe like a dirty bomb or something. So China, Iran, and Al-Qaeda are basically in the same building, right? So think of that as they innovate on that and grow. If we go to war with China, I do think China will likely wait and use the terrorists as a proxy against us. Now that brings us to Russia, right? So we talked about this in our October 7th report. So the terrorists actually decided to do the Israel attacks after Russia invaded Ukraine. They're like, it's a really good time. Everybody's focused on Ukraine. So they started the plotting in March of 2022. When they started the plotting, the terrorists reached out to Russia and said, is this going to be okay? And Russia's like, go for it, go for it, go for it. So when Zawahiri was killed and Al-Qaeda's like, we're not doing this attack October 7th because the U.S. will come and bomb all of our locations in Afghanistan. We'll lose our base. They reached back out to Russia, and Russia's like, no, do it in 2022. Don't wait. I need to get this pressure off me from my war in Ukraine. Well, fast forward to these. There is information that Russia is helping bring in some of the tools necessary for Al-Qaeda's homeland attack.
Say that again.
There's information that Russia and Russian pipelines are helping bring in some of the resources that are going to support Al-Qaeda's homeland attack. And it's to
into this country?
Yep, to push at us for Ukraine. Just like we're doing stuff against Russia.
So hold on.
So
let me get this straight.
Ukraine.
So Russia's sending supplies into the United States to help with the terrorist homeland.
Their pipeline is helping move some of Al-Qaeda's supplies in the United States for their homeland attack.
Which is probably our own fucking supplies because we left everything there.
So.
Am I right?
I mean, it's a different kind of supply. I'll tell you what the supply is. But it is a Russian channel, reportedly, that the supply has moved through. So we have to remember, there's a lot of dirty games going on around the Russian-Ukraine war. We're doing things to counter Russia and likely funding terrorists. Russia's doing the same thing, to not think they're trying to also undercut us and also get on the side of our enemy and hit us with our enemy. Because think about it. Al-Qaeda's going to pull off an attack. It's going to be blamed on ISIS. No one's going to call it Al-Qaeda. No one's definitely going to say Russia played a piece in it, right? So it's very smart of them, too. And so there's all this kind of like, we say we're near peer, and near peer has gotten smart about using terrorists. We might be thinking Sirajudeen Haqqani can be used against them. And so everybody's playing this game of the terrorists now.
So we have two of the world's largest superpowers convoluting with Al-Qaeda and terrorist organizations.
And remember, to them, they beat us, right? Like right now, like Al-Qaeda and the Taliban are power players. I mean, people think, oh, Afghanistan's a third world country. They're not being treated a third world country, right? Our enemies are not treating them that way. They're treating them with respect, right? They're saying, what can you do for me? What can I do for you?
And Iran. I forgot Iran.
And Iran. And there's North Koreans in Afghanistan too.
Also, that makes a lot of sense with the Israel stuff. I know there's a lot of controversy about that. I didn't really understand why we're so heavily involved with that. But now...
It's the same guys who are going to attack us. So let Israel take them out.
That makes... So do you
worth every penny.
Yeah. So do you think that's why we're doing it?
Well, I think we're doing it because they are an ally, right? I don't think people understand that is just the dress rehearsal, the first step to our attack. I don't think they understand it that way. But I do think people understand. I mean, Israel's taking out these guys who did the Beirut marine bombings. So there is still a level of respect that they really are taking out some of our enemies and terrorists who did kill a lot of Americans who were never brought to justice.
I mean, they've been pretty damn effective from what I've seen.
They have been.
It's very...
We've never seen anything like this at this level, to be honest.
Yeah, it's...
At the speed.
Super impressive. I don't even know if we're capable of that kind of shit anymore.
We're not legally capable.
I feel like we're just a fucking joke.
Yeah, I'd rather have another country do it for me. I mean, even our Benghazi attackers, half of them are killed. Nothing to do with the United States. It's General Haftar in Libya did it. U.S. won't even back him. And he basically like, fine, I'll pay Wagner Group to do it. I mean, it's bad, right? If the U.S. would have backed him, we could have had all the successes. We don't have the spine.
Man. What else do you want to talk about?
It's up to you. I'm your guest.
I don't know if I can take any more bad news today, Sarah. What do you think about Cash Patel taking the FBI?
I mean, I'm looking forward to, FBI to us is a huge failure. The Benghazi investigation's a nightmare. We passed them the mortar team last November, as I told you. We still don't have a response. I talk about how we passed tips and threats to multiple government organizations. We passed them something I felt interesting, actionable, that they could get ahead of on ISIS. No response. So no matter what, like his first day on the job, I want to bug him. And so, we still haven't got our Benghazi attackers watch listed, right? Big problem. We're completely upset about it. We've written, as I told you, like over a dozen Congress people. But there's one Benghazi plotter, and I've talked about him in the last episode, and we did a whole report on him. We call it Al-Qaeda's Lord of War, and I'll say the long name again. So the terrorists call him Musa bin Ali, but his name is Abdul Azim Ali Musa bin Ali, and he's from the Al-Darsi clan in Libya. But he was a 2012 Benghazi plotter, I've told you this before, and he is also involved in the U.S. Homeland plot. He helped on the Hamas attacks, and he's helping on some of the U.S. embassy attacks. And we want him put on the FBI most wanted list. Like, they can put one Benghazi attacker on the wanted list already. This is ridiculous. He's continuing attacks against us, and it's just, he's completely ignored, right? Because he was involved in Benghazi attacks. Nobody cares. And look at all these other things he's doing. He was one of the big logistics guy for all these fighters in Syria. And then we act like we didn't even know all those guys got there. Guess what? If you were following him and targeting him, you would have seen all these fighters move there. Numerous people have been passing stuff to the U.S. government about all these guys training in Afghanistan for Syria. They didn't want to hear it. They said, those numbers are exaggerated. We don't believe it. If this was happening, we'd see it. It's like, no, you're not going to see it. You lost 99% of intelligence collection. You rely on the Taliban now. You are not going to see it. And it's like getting over their arrogance. When we were in Benghazi, we knew we had no counterterrorism collection, right? Like, we hadn't really had it under Gaddafi. We relied on him. And then we had no terrorist sources and terrorist groups in Benghazi at the time. We knew we were sitting ducks, right? I don't know how we can't get smart people to be honest and say, yeah, we don't have this collection. I don't have an asset, the U.S. government, not I don't have an asset on Hamza bin Laden. I need to go make an asset on Hamza bin Laden, right? Like, I'm behind the curve. Why can't they do that? Why aren't they doing their jobs?
Well, I mean, the only thing that comes to my mind is we fucking pulled everybody out, so there's literally no intelligence collection happening over there right now.
The other problem is, and Scott said this to you, and Scott's 100% right, the allies we abandoned, hate the CIA. They hate huge parts of the military, except maybe their one friend. They are collecting info and won't even give it to us. I talked to some Afghans, and they said, we actually passed some stuff to Israel. We'll never pass it to the United States. Think about that. They'll pass it to Israel.
Wow.
So the other part is we abandoned some quality people, and they hate us now.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.